When it comes to architecture, the question I asked myself when I was trying to seek for an answer to what makes a timeless home, not necessarily which style seems to be the most beautiful, that wasn't the question. The question was, what do all styles have in common, regardless of where you are on the planet, that all seem to have common threads and themes? And what are those threads and themes? Because if you look at history, some of the most popular destinations to go are some of these timeless cities. Florence, Rome, Paris, and the architecture is absolutely stunning. Even to the point where a stone cottage that's falling apart in the middle of Ireland also has a timeless quality to it. And what is it about the high classic architecture, the amazing Arabic architecture, and the vernacular cottage? What do they all have in common that makes it stunningly beautiful and wonderfully timeless? What do all these things mean? If you're not in the design world, that can be kind of esoteric and a little bit ambiguous. And so let me try to boil this down and see if we can explain this to some degree in this video. What we mean by simple massing is that it's just a box, right? It's just a square. And then we ornament that square. If you think about a colonial house, it's just a kind of a rectangle extruded with a prism on the top of it, just to shed water off. A very simple form. And then what is it made of? It's made of natural material, stone, with timbers on the top as a roof. And there's something about having a simple form, the organization of nature, and then as it begins to fade back into nature, it's almost like this ordering of nature and then returning to nature. And in that, we have this connection or this sense of romance that we feel as we see these buildings where nature is reclaiming her own. The most important thing about details is you get them properly proportioned. Because if you think about a human being, there's two aspects to this. You have a type. We look like ourselves. All of us are proportioned in a very similar way based on our type. But it's all the details, the eyebrows, the eyes, the hair, the hairline, the ears, the nose, all their fingers, all those different things give us our individuality and character and really make us us. And that's what's absolutely remarkable about us. And it's like there's an infinite variety of and endless possibilities of design within any given type. And that's what creates the interest. And that was the same in the case of every aspect of architecture. You may have had similar buildings that look the same, but those details were executed in slightly different ways, and so not every building looked the same. And the crazy thing is, if you go to some cities where every single arch looks the same, it gets a little redundant and too ordered and a little just dead inside, because it just feels like there's too much rigidity. And that was the problem with modernism, is there was too much order and too much concrete and too much, and the extraction of the details. So when we're dealing with details, we want to have the proper variety based on the tradition or the style that you're trying to achieve, and we want to make sure they're properly proportioned. Because if I take my eyebrows or my nose or my ears or whatever and I make them super big, exaggerate them, all of a sudden I turn myself into a cartoon character. A character or a caricature of the actual thing that has character. And what we're trying to do is put details in that embody character into the overall design. And how you begin to attach those things need to reinforce the order, which is principle number 3, because of visual hierarchy. You can achieve visual hierarchy in multiple different ways, right? And so if I have squares aligned to each other, if I make one of them taller, my eyes are going to go to the one that's taller. If I have squares aligned, just picture a door surround, and one of those door surrounds is arched, and all the rest are just rectangular on the top. You're going to look at the arched one. And so you can achieve it through color, line, detail, shape, form, scale. There's different ways that you can achieve visual hierarchy, and these are all essentially design elements that you can execute on any given design in order to achieve visual hierarchy so that the reading of my building and my experience with the building is proper and it's not confusing and it's not jumbled. I didn't put materials on and just put windows where they needed to be functionally. I put them purposefully where they needed to be, and function became in the service of the proper ordering of the space. And how you begin to look at that is critical, because there's a difference between organizing stuff in the idea of a room with openings versus space with dematerialized corners and nothing really matters. You can dematerialize the edges of these rooms so you can have visual connectivity from space to space to space. But in the end, what we're trying to generate is a well-ordered building through visual hierarchy, so our experience with the building makes sense. If we get those 4 things right, some massing, natural materials, order through visual hierarchy, and properly proportioned details, regardless of the style, regardless of where you are on the planet, it will be timeless.